Welcome back to BadgerBlitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as I always am, by my good, nay, great friend and Rivals.com national analyst Clint Cosgrove. Like we always say, it's the best time of the week, buddy.
Best time of the week, Perko. Let's
Let's,
roll.
yeah, baby, let's be awesome today. First of all, shout out to the Den for listening to our call to action and actually giving us a little bit of fodder this week. We appreciate it. And we're going to start out by asking, or I should say, answering one of those questions that was asked about defensive tackle recruiting. We've talked about it a lot here in general, talking about defensive tackles, how important it is to either a 3-4 or a 3-3-5. We've talked about Justin Scott a ton. Everyone knows he's not just the best defensive tackle in the Midwest. He's the best defensive tackle prospect in the country, in the estimation of a lot
Mhm.
of people, and for good reason. But the good people in the den want to know if there are any other Midwest defensive tackles to look at. Here in the 2024 cycle, you go down through the positional ranks of the top 25. I think there's one kid from Missouri, and that's about it. What other nose tackles, defensive tackles, interior defensive linemen in the Midwest should Badger fans be keeping their eyes out for?
Right now there hasn't been a ton of those inside guys in the Midwest in this class. It's at least elite level guys. Now there's going to be guys who pop up. There's going to be guys who kind of grow into that. Might be weak side defensive ends or strong side defensive ends right now that will grow into more of the nose type as they bulk up. There's guys who may be a little undersized right now who will put on some beef, and they have the skill set, but just aren't considered maybe Big Ten interior D tackles right now. Of the guys that are, identified as high end defensive linemen who could potentially kick inside, I would say Tion Gray, who is a new 4 star. Now he's like 6'6", 305, so
Yeah,
he's
he's
not
the
your
kid out of
typical
Missouri,
maybe.
right? I think he was like the 11th ranked
Yeah.
D tackle, I want to say, in the new 250.
Yeah, so there's a chance that he ends up on the offensive side of the ball because he is your prototypical offensive tackle and he can flat out move. He's extremely athletic. He wants to play defensive line. If he does play defensive line, he could end up being a strong side defensive end, but he could also be more of a three technique, a guy who kick inside because he could just absolutely disrupt the line of scrimmage, take on multiple blocks. I mean, he could just throw double teams down to the side and then just be in the backfield. So he's got freaky upside. Now, in my opinion, a kid who's got a chance to be maybe even the number one overall player in the class, and that might be a little over the top, but I believe that much in him is Williams and Warney out of I think Lee Summit in Missouri. So he's in Kansas City. This kid is freaky good, freaky long, and he's that 6'6", 265-pound kid right now. He is going to bulk up. He's extremely athletic, extremely twitched up. Wouldn't put it past him to play on the inside. Um, then you've got some other guys who might be inside projections who are more considered defensive end types right now, like Jayad Avasari out of Minnesota. He's a 6'6", 270 kid, built like an interior three technique type. And then Kavion Benton, who's a kid down in Tennessee, who's more of I think he's in like the 6'3", 250 range, but he could easily be a candidate to be an inside guy. So there are guys, and they're going to continue to pop up. I've seen guys who are borderline, big time interior defensive linemen at camps that are maybe, I don't know, that FCS group of 5 caliber right now, but will definitely blow up and get better. So this isn't done yet, but those are the top guys I would say right now who would be definite candidates that are borderline or are offer worthy right now.
Clint, when you're looking at defensive tackles, nose tackles, like what's the first thing that you're looking for in general?
Twitch and Ben, ability to come off the ball, ability to, a lot of defensive linemen, they can come off the ball hard, but then they're just kind of stalemated at the line of scrimmage. I want guys who disrupt the line of scrimmage and move it back. A guy who's going to give headaches to offensive linemen all day. They're bringing the blow, not receiving the blow, and then fighting back. So with that comes playing with a good base. You want really strong lowers. This may seem stupid, but I like guys with skinny ankles and big butts. Skinny ankles means that they're going to be able to to continue to move. They're athletic. They usually have good ankle flexion, which allows them not only great lateral movement but upward push, and especially if they have the thick lowers with the skinny ankles, those are the guys you're looking for. But twitch is big, length is big, strength is big, punch. You want a guy who's ruthless. You want a guy who plays like their hair is on fire, is a high motor guy. And there's nothing worse, and I don't care what position it is. I obviously never played in the trenches, but a guy who's going to bring you pain every single play, and you're to the point where, do I really have to go up against this guy every time? Can we do something? I want that as a defensive lineman. I want a guy who is upright, downright scary to go up against and is going to give you headaches all day. And by the end of the game, you feel like you need to sit in a cold bath and take a bunch of Advil because they brought it to you all game. So there is an athletic component, which is the most important. There's the size component, which comes with the athletic component. There's the makeup of the body, which I talked about. And then there's that motor and that wanting to be a bad man and coming with bad intentions. Defensive tackle, you want to be disruptive, not only be able to take on double teams, not only be able to stand their ground, but I want them to knock the line of scrimmage back. And that's what I'm looking for in a defensive tackle.
If you're a bad man with skinny ankles, holler at Clint Cosgrove. All right.
Oh, God.
One of the many questions that we've had a couple questions, I should say, about FutureCasts and what goes into making a FutureCast. You see a FutureCast is at 100% for a player. That, what does that mean? So on your end, sort of what goes into making a FutureCast, and how and when along the process do you make a FutureCast?
So with me, it's really different. A lot of people in the industry, they'll kind of wait until they know where a guy's going, and then they'll put in the FutureCast. Since I do a lot of their commitment interviews and videos, I tell them beforehand that I'm not going to give this away. Your secret's safe with me. A lot of that comes into the trust factor of it, and I don't want to, lose those interviews. And really, I don't want to disrupt a kid's special moment. I don't want to ruin it for them. So FutureCasts that you see from me are a little different than many you'll see from others. Some guys do it on a hunch, even with signing or commitment announcement approaching. You'll see them go out. Others do it when they know. For me, if I do FutureCasts, every now and then I'll do it as it's closer to the commitment or signing date. When I have a good feeling, I tend to not do it when I know for sure. So when I do, like recently, I did a bunch of FutureCasts because I was still working up at my desk at like 12:31 in the morning, and my wife told me to go to bed, and I wasn't done. So I laid in bed and did FutureCasts, and those were based off of guys that I knew had been on recent visits places, guys that I knew had a high level of interest. But none of those FutureCasts were, I knew they were going to sign at a certain place. So it's like an educated guess. It's a gut feel. And they want us to do a lot of them. I just have a catch-22 of I don't want to ruin the day, and I don't want to do it when I know for sure that a kid is going somewhere. If it's a kid from a different area that I'm not going to interview, and maybe I've heard something, I'll put one out there. But my FutureCasts, especially with the kids that I may interview when it's time for them to commit, I will always have that done before we start doing that communication about where they are going. So you'll notice that most of the guys that I do the commitment day interviews with, I have not put in a FutureCast for them.
Well, speaking of FutureCast, one guy that you did put in one for recently for the Badgers was big defensive lineman Count Lindstrom. I think a lot of people got excited about that, obviously, because let's face it, people trust your word, Clint. You've got a good reputation, at least in Madison and in the those around.
Well, my percentage is pretty high, too.
Your percentage is pretty high. What people want to know, though, is do you regret that now that he's getting the Alabama offers, like the true big boy offers? Or do you think he's still are you still 100% firm in your in your FutureCast there?
None of my FutureCasts are 100% firm. That can change. I had a feeling he would blow up, but Midwest kid. What went into this was Midwest kid. I believe Wisconsin was the first offer.
Mm-hmm.
He was really excited about that offer. There's great tradition of defensive linemen, especially guys like J.J. Watt or the Watt brothers. With him being in the Midwest and, that first offer means a lot. And with the coaching staff and the momentum that Wisconsin has and the opportunity to build something big, that's that's really where it all came from. I knew he was going to blow up. There's a reason he's so high in those new rankings, is because I believe in him as a player, and I think he's going to be big time. And do you want to go to Alabama and be a developmental guy, or do you want to come to Wisconsin and maybe make an impact right away? And so all of that goes into it. It's not just me clicking a button. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I'll do it just to get a rile out of someone. But I can always change that FutureCast as well. But yeah, no, for now I'll stick with that, and I have no reason not to believe that. His recruitment's got a long time to go. Guys like him probably aren't committing early. If he does, well, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I do not have any insider information that Wisconsin is the place for him, and he's going to continue to blow up. I'm sure he'll go through the recruiting process, but I also at the same time wouldn't be surprised if Wisconsin's one of his finalists and gets a visit from him.
Yeah, excellent. Well, another guy that I'm sure the Badgers would love to get on campus, who's clearly interested in the campus at least, Brian Robinson out of Youngstown, Ohio. Apparently,
he was just on campus.
He was just on campus, and apparently he loves it, which is good news. How did this all come together? Because he's not someone who I think had been on the radar for a lot of Badger fans, but he's clearly a talent, Clint.
Yeah, he's a freak. I mean, this kid, like, it's almost like he was made in a lab to play football. His dad has him on this. I mean, if you go on his Twitter, like he posts his breakfast and his meals. This extreme regimented diet that he's all about, extremely healthy, always working on his craft, always lifting. Whether there's time off. He's always putting in extra work. He's always posting his workouts. This kid loves football, wants to be the greatest. His dad supports everything about him and what he does. And so he is a guy that has incredible upside. He's grown a ton since the first time I saw him. And he's got a chance to be a special player. He's like 6'4", 250 pounds, moves it very well. He doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. So you talk about the visit to Madison. I guess they went on a family vacation. And so, dead period and all, I don't think he was even allowed to go over and meet with the coaches and stuff like that. But I believe they stayed down at the Edgewater. He loved being able to walk on water, as he said, when he walked on the lake. And so he thought it was really cool. And I think he wants to take another visit up there when, things are open and he can maybe check out the facilities, meet with the staff. But he thought it was a really cool town from what I could tell. We haven't talked specifically about it, but just going from his posts and everything like that. And he also loved the food in Madison, which seems to be trending. Food in Madison is trending. For a long time, I remember when my dad was coaching at LSU, I go down, and half the reason I went down was for the food down in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. But kids talk about that food in Wisconsin. So, a lot of guys haven't had a cheese curd until they go there, and the cheese curds will bring you in, man.
Listen, I did a podcast yesterday with Tyler Beach and David Mormon, and I think we spent at least a third of it talking about food. Now, maybe that's just a couple of former offensive linemen talking about the thing they love most, but at the same time, it's still a very vibrant conversation when you're talking about food in Madison. Okay, Clint,
no question.
We will move on here. Final question of the day. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Ooh. One horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses. Dang. All right, so I'm going to go, oh gosh. Here, I'm going to go with this. Part of fighting, I guess, would be staying alive and protecting yourself. I am not going to be able to run from a duck-sized horse. Hopefully, I could run away from 100, or no, I'm not going to be able to run from duck the size of a horse, but I would be able to run from 100 duck-sized horses and maybe kick them away as I'm running. If they do corner me, I can always just start swinging and protecting and hope for the best. So I'm going to go with 100 little guys over, an individual duck can be mean.
Yeah, an individual duck the size of a horse. An individual duck the size of a horse, especially if that thing can fly. Then it's a whole different ball game. If that thing is flying,
100%.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And like a horse.
Yeah.
they got to turn around and like kick you, you
Yeah.
know? And those a duck the size of a horse, he'd be flying in the air and shooting his legs forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have no chance.
Yeah.
Give
None.
me 100 horses the size of a duck, and maybe I could even tame them, talk them down, and tell them how we're going to have a good time and explore the food scene in Madison.
We've domesticated horses. We haven't really domesticated ducks. And that's the kind of insights
No.
you guys come for here on BadgerBlitz TV. We will be back next week
Oh, you crack me up.
with yeah, you got to thank the den, baby. We'll be back next week with more recruiting and hypothetical sort of metaphysical questions while we're at it. So
Yeah, let's get one more of those questions. That was fun.
that was fun. Until next time, we will see you guys in the den.
In the den.